All right, so you guys really seem to like that solo I posted earlier this week. So I thought I'd do a run through of that solo with some of the things that I'm thinking and how I'm approaching that solo and how I pieced it together. I'm going to post the full tabs on my Patreon page for free, meaning you don't have to sign up to access them. But if you're interested in checking out all the exclusive lesson content I post there, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial. So one of my subscribers has been posting a comment on almost every single video I've made in the last month or two, asking for me to play some country guitar. And I'm not really too much of a country player. I kind of dabble in it, but it's not, my forte or my real strength. But once he specified a certain Alan Jackson song, I decided to check it out and see what it was like. And it's a really, really fun tune, upbeat, kind of, fun blues country rock tune that also features 2 great guitar solos. So the first guitar solo is a clean tone, pretty traditional country solo. And then the second one is a slide guitar solo that is awesome. I'm a huge fan of slide guitar, and I honestly wish I was a little bit better at that technique. So I thought it'd be fun to try to mimic that slide guitar solo without playing slide and try to use bending and different techniques to try to mimic that sound. So if you're not familiar with the tune, the first half of this solo is pretty true to the original, again, just without the slide. So I'm doing little things to try to just make it sound as interesting as the slide guitar solo without using slide. And one of my favorite parts of the solo was actually at the very, very beginning. To mimic that sound of the slide, what I did is after the first bend there, I hit the open E string. And it has kind of a cool sound, but that was something I came up with only trying to mimic the sound of the slide guitar. I wouldn't normally think of doing that, and so I really like that idea, and maybe it's something that I'll throw into my future playing. So as I said, the first half is pretty true to the original. And that's pretty much where it stops with the original solo, and then from there is my own interpretation where it gets a little bit crazier and then ends with that wild run, which was the main idea of why I'd get fired from the gig. Not to mention the crazy whammy bar squeals at the end. So that first half, as I said, is pretty true to the original, but it has some amazing phrasing in there, some great kind of country blues licks that sound amazing. It just goes to show you don't have to use any crazy scales or anything like that to sound really good. It's more what you do with the notes is how you make it sound great. Now from there, when we get into my own interpretation of the solo, I start adding in a little bit of chromaticism. So I'm kind of using a pentatonic blues scale here with a few added extra notes in that cool triplet feel. Now in this next part, I'm following the chords very closely. So this whole song is based around a 12-bar blues progression, and at this point we're in the last 4 bars where it's going to the 5 chord in the key of E, which would be a B7. And then in the song, he does a bit of a variation to a 12-bar blues. I think he goes to a D, then to an A, then to an E, which is a little bit different than the average 5-4-1 progression. So I'm just following those chords pretty closely, which is also impacting my phrasing and making me choose different things than I would normally play because I'm trying to outline those chords. So starting with that little sweep that goes into the B7 chord, that would be an odd note to land on over any other chord, but over that B7, it works really, really well. And again, that's pretty much outlining the chord with a 4th added in. And then from there, I'm kind of outlining an A7 chord. So if I were to outline only the A7 notes, and you'll see I just add in a few extra notes to make that a little bit more musical, a little bit more of a melodic phrase. but you can see it's very much surrounding the A7 arpeggio there. And now we're in the last 2 bars of the solo, which is just back to the 1 chord, back to E. So I revert back to E pentatonic, E minor pentatonic. And this is where we add in like the crazy shred lick to end it off. And this is very inspired by what Jason Becker would do a lot of the time. And I always find it almost kind of funny how ironic it is, you know, Jason's style with this, because if you look at the theory of it, it's incredibly basic. It's just the pentatonic scale, but it's played in one of the, like, the wildest ways. So this is very Jason inspired. What I'm doing is just taking your root position E minor pentatonic, stretching out to the A with the pinky, so just having all 5 notes of the pentatonic formatted that way. And then what I'm doing is just repeating that in octaves going down. So it's the exact same 5 notes and exact same shape, just repeated down in octaves. And then to make that just slightly more interesting, there's a little bit of phrasing going on by when I'm descending, I just kind of go back up for a second and then head back down. So as you can see, it's a pretty wild lick, but again, from a theory standpoint, it's incredibly basic. It's just your pentatonic scale. It sounds friendly to the ear because it is just the pentatonic scale. It's a scale that everyone knows really well. So you're not throwing anything too crazy at the audience, but it is played in a pretty wild way. So hopefully that gives you some insight into how I put together that solo and to give you some ideas for your own playing and how to construct a solo. Again, remember to download the free tabs on my Patreon page. You don't have to sign up to access them, but feel free to sign up for a 7-day trial so you can check out the other exclusive lesson content there. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.